Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Christ Care Center. We're going to interview our pastor tonight, Pastor Jermaine Scott, and his wife, First Lady Danielle Scott. Also with us is my wife, Evangelist Angela Reynoldson, and I'm Pastor Reynoldson. So our intention tonight is to help you to get to know our pastor a little bit, because we know that you've seen him on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and we just wanted you to get a little more intimate with him. He's a man of God, his wife, woman of God, who God has placed here in Brunswick for such a time as this. So we hope that you enjoy all that you're going to hear, and that it will help you to know them a little better. Amen. All right, we're so glad to be with you. You know, we love your ministry. You're awesome people of God. I'm going to really try to be formal with this, but just so we can get to know, so they can get to know a little bit about you. I guess I'll first ask, where did you grow up?
Oh, well,
Right.
yeah, I was born years ago, not that long ago. And I was raised by my grandmother,
Okay.
and she really instilled a lot into me, and I am number 5 of 8 children. I have 3 brothers and 4 sisters, partially. That's my mom.
Okay.
My dad, I am number 3.
Okay.
I have 5.
Amen.
And so I have a lot of brothers and sisters.
Yes.
So I thank God for that.
Praise God. Amen.
Born and raised in Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah.
Yes, sir. Was there my whole life. I am my mother's oldest child
Okay.
and my father's youngest.
Yes.
I have 3 younger brothers, 2 older brothers,
Yes.
and 2 older sisters. It's, how I got here is, so it's a story.
Yes,
And I
sir.
think later we'll be into it.
Yes, sir.
But born and raised in Savannah, Georgia,
Okay.
and I do miss it. I love you, Seaport.
Amen. That's awesome. Savannah, Brunswick. Now, both y'all grew up with a lot of siblings, so that's something y'all had in common. What was it like having so many siblings around, just like in general?
It was good and bad for me
Yeah.
because I had so many at one time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes.
Yeah, right.
But it's like you missed a lot, and if you're not one of the first people to get something, you just miss out, and you have to share everything. So I didn't like a lot of brothers.
Right. She like y'all now. She
Yes.
got the right setup.
Right. I love my brothers and sisters now.
Set up something she had nothing to do
Yeah,
with.
right.
It was different on my end. I was raised with my 2 younger brothers, and so I was the oldest in the house, and I had a different perspective. I began to interact more and more with my older siblings, and I saw everything in a different perspective. Also, because yet I'm the youngest,
Yeah.
and so it's kind of dealing with a coin. You had both sides, and so with me, being the oldest of my moms, I kind of had, and I think those who are the oldest child understand my pain exactly. Like, listen, you have to
You both
watch.
was the oldest.
Oh, see, so you guys know you had to watch your younger brothers, and like you were always responsible. But we had a close connection, man. We're very close, and with my older siblings, we have a close connection. So yeah.
That's awesome. Amen. Okay, now, where did you go to school?
Before we answer this,
Disclaimer.
listen, before we answer this, note.
Goodness. Brunswick High is the original blue and gold. Okay? I was,
Listen.
I graduated from Brunswick High School in 2002.
Amen.
The original blue and
Okay.
gold.
Original. Nope.
And you'll understand what I'm saying in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Listen, I went to AE Beach High School, Savannah, Georgia. She says they're original blue and gold. I highly doubt that. Just because I stay here does not mean I represent my blue and gold for Brunswick High. I am still a bulldog.
Yes,
So yeah, man, 99 was my last year at Beach High,
Yeah.
and we are the original blue and gold. And since we've been together, this has been this. We've seen eye to eye on many things, but we do not stand in agreements with this.
Blue and gold.
So if we ever do anything blue and gold, she has her definition of what it stands for, and I have mine.
Right.
So we agreed to disagree
That's
on
right.
this.
Yes,
Pirate
sir.
pride, okay?
Bulldog for life. And what hurts me is the fact that we're here in Brunswick, so my sons don't get to experience the doghouse. They don't get to experience that, yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But
funny.
they're not going to experience pirate pride. either. Thank God for BCA.
Yes.
That's great. Okay. Out of school, elementary, junior high, high school. Okay, y'all went to college too, huh? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I went to, what did I just blank?
I don't
went
know.
to St. Leo University. It's it was a small campus in Savannah, but their home base is St. Leo, Florida, which is close to Tampa.
Okay.
I was a student there and I was an employee there, so I got 2 for 1.
Amen.
And I graduated in 2013 with my bachelor's in religion with a minor in psychology. And I am currently working on my master's degree in organizational leadership.
That's awesome. Wow. Amen.
I also attended St. Leo University. I went where she went. But I originally started out with IT, then switched it to religion.
Okay.
Awesome experience. And from there, I transferred from St. Leo to Liberty University.
Praise God. That's awesome. Now, so far out of all your educational experience, given 3 seconds to think about it, what did you like the most? Elementary, junior, high school, or college? 3, 2,
You go first.
1.
I like my college better because it was then that I started taking everything seriously. And so not only was it because I was paying for it, but,
That helps.
but it was really something I enjoyed and I wanted to learn more about. And so yeah, that's why.
Okay. Amen. 3, 2, 1.
That's actually a hard question. I was not a teacher's choice in school. So I was kind of one of the students that when you walk in the classroom, from my hello, most of my teachers say, "Not today, Mr. Scott."
Oh, man.
So I was not one of the students that you like, listen, this is the teacher's pet. I was far from it. I was more like, I knew the principal on first hand and his office. And so I will say when I began to really buckle down, maybe high school. Maybe high school.
Now, what did you like about high school that maybe made it a better education?
Well, I began to really understand the more being independent, that it was either my choice to learn, or I can sit and not do anything. So I began to apply myself, especially in certain areas that I really care and had passion about.
Yes.
And most of all, in high school, I had teachers that really grabbed a hold to me and would not allow me to slip through the crack. And to this day, I'm very grateful. Now, I may have not been the best student or made the best grades, but the principles that they instilled in me I still operate in today.
Amen. That's awesome. Yeah, that makes a difference too. People that care about you,
Yes, sir.
hold you accountable. Okay. And now you told us you graduated 2002 in '99, right? High school.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Amen. We were both actually '88.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 99.
Amen. Amen.
My last year there.
99.
I feel old.
Okay. Now, Pastor, you actually answered the question. My next was, what kind of student were you? So I have to say for you first. What kind of student would you say throughout all your educational years?
I was the one that everybody came to. I was the studious one.
Okay.
Teacher's pet, some would say, but I don't think so. But yeah, I took school seriously, and I still do. That's why I became a teacher.
Amen. Praise God.
I have something to say. Most people you hearing and watching this interview like, wait a minute. How did the class clown hook up with the teacher's pet? Now, yes, I will say they say opposites attract. But when it comes to that, it's kind of funny because I often pray, I was like, Lord, let my sons take after my kids when it comes to school. Let my sons take after their moms when it comes to school. And they are.
Amen. That's funny. Because you say, wait a minute. Somebody say the class clown and the teacher's pet.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Opposite attract. Amen. That's all right. Okay. I touched on it a little bit. Looking back on your education, could you see how God was preparing you for ministry? And if you would name it.
In middle school, I had some tough teachers. I had a math teacher. Her name was Miss Harris. And I used to go to Schumann Middle School. And she was really hard on me. She told me one day, I'll never forget it. She said, "You're gonna be over something. You're gonna be a great young man." Now listen, I was not a good guy in her class. She taught math. I would sometimes have to work on math problems, and I'll stand in her class at the board from the beginning till the bell rang. But she would not take slack on me or pity, but she would always tell me, "Mr. Scott, you're gonna be somebody." And even through that, her speaking that in my life, really where I saw the major adjustment of me accepting not just the call, but realizing that God really wanted to utilize me is when I got to St. Leo University. I lost my grandmother while attending there. And a lot of things that I learned, I was encouraged by the director who was there at the time. I think her name was Miss Kathy Allen. And they gave me an opportunity to speak at my grandmother's funeral. And just a few words of encouragement to the family. From her hearing a few words of encouragement, and note, this was one of my first time publicly speaking at a church besides giving an announcement or a welcome, but speaking freely. She began to encourage me every time she saw. She's the reason why I switched my major from IT to religion. And so she really pushed me. And, she's no longer with us, but I just thank God for her really grabbing the hold and seeing that and pushing me to not just her, but when you talk about education, yes, I would have to say that was her, definitely.
Amen. Amen. Praise God.
And I would have to say it was at St. Leo too that I realized that I haven't had, that God was working something out. Because a lot of the students that came through St. Leo were non-traditional, and what I mean is they were not regular college age. They were adults who had been to college or stopped, had children, families, or professionals. And they would come in and they would talk to me and I would talk to them and they would say, I'm glad you're here. They would call me Miss St. Leo and would call me and want to talk about more than just school. It would be about life. And I was glad that I was able to be that light for them. And St. Leo.
Wow. That's awesome. Wow. Okay. How did you meet?
Oh my.
You go ahead. Tell your point of view.
Well,
Okay.
no, you
Go.
want me to go.
No, I'm just saying. I know I'm gonna get in trouble.
Okay, just how we met, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. His mom, Miss Josephine, and I worked together at Win Price Clothing in Savannah. And what was Best Price? Same thing. And so I guess he had something going on in his life. And so she asked me if I wanted somebody that, just to talk to. And I said, sure. She showed me a picture of him and she gave me his number. I didn't call when I said I was going to call.
Not happening.
It took,
No call, no show.
It took about 2 weeks, was it? It was 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks.
3.
And
Almost a month.
and I finally called him, and we've been talking ever since March 27, 2000. What?
4.
Oh, okay, 2004.
Just try to put me on the spot. Yeah,
Okay.
my version is exactly the same. I experienced some trauma that really left me speechless. I kind of was shut up in my room for maybe a month or so. My roommates were very helpful when I was going through this. So I reached out to my mom one day and I told her, I just need somebody to talk to. I don't want a girlfriend. I don't want no attachments. Just somebody who I can really just talk to. And as she stated, she had my number, and I began to play the waiting game. Never seen her a day in my life, and so I think, 3 weeks. And so I called my mom. I was like, "Hey, Mom, you give her my number?"
She called me.
If you know her, she ain't playing. Thank you, Mama. I say that now. But she, it's funny because when she called me, we talked on the phone for 3 months before we saw each other, but we actually fell in love over the phone. Before we said I love you to each other before we saw each other. So it's like, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, man. And so for us, meeting you at, how long has it been now? 15 years?
15 years married, 16 together.
So for us to see, this, it's not the end result, but the place you're at now after all this time is to hear that, the beginnings of that. That's awesome, man. We praise, thank God for
To
you.
God be the glory.
Yes, amen. Okay. Before you got to the I do, but when did you know that he was the one?
Okay. I knew he was the one when I could call him at any time and he would be there for me, and that no matter what it was or how much or whatever, he was there and he was going to do whatever it is I needed to be done. So I knew then
Wow.
that he was my mister.
All right. He showed up. All
Woo,
right.
woo, look at you, boy.
Yeah,
Yes,
buddy.
sir.
Wow.
Got my favor. Got my good thing.
There you go. Hey,
Get
yeah.
yours.
Get yours.
When did I know she was the one? You know, honestly, this may be the first time that I say this out loud. I'm typically a basic male. Most males, when they fall in love, they all in. When I told her I love her, I knew that she was the one. What really confirmed it was when I saw that she started putting the things that I need in front of hers, and I was doing the same thing. It's like we would get home and know what the other need, and here it is. It's like, wait, you needed this and I needed that, and so instead of me getting what I needed, I would get it what she needed. And when she got home from work and I got home from work, we both saw, hey, wait, why did you get that? Because you needed it. And I was like, wait, that's funny because here you go. That was the confirmation. Like, wait, she's not a selfish woman. She's one to put others in front of her. But the love that she showed me in the midst of the brokenness that I dealt with, it was sealed.
Wow.
It was. They say sign, seal, deliver.
Yeah.
She's mine.
Right.
I had to. Yeah, I rewrote that though.
That's great. So the Lord used her also to heal you. You know,
Yes.
she ministered to you, didn't even know you, right? And you got used to heal whatever it was you were going through, and through that, I mean, obviously God had a plan ahead, before all of that, because we know He knows everything, at the beginning. So that's really great. So you all had like a relationship, like a friendship, before moving into a more intimate relationship. Amen. Amen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And let's see. Kids. Now you mentioned that you have some kids. Tell us about them.
We've had a journey with kids. Prior to our oldest, we've had how many?
Few,
Miss-
numerous, 7.
About 7 miscarriages.
7 miscarriages before we actually carried the term. And so it's really a blessing, even though sometimes I don't feel like that. But yeah, I love my boys. Jermaine Jr. is 8, Jaden is 7, and Josiah
King
is
Sire.
3.
That's right. He just turned 3, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Just turned
yes. All boys.
Amen.
I love them. I remember when I told my mom, we told our parents, well, actually, we told them together that, and they screamed so loud when we told them that we were having a boy. And when we really told everybody is after her first trimester, because it was difficult for her to carry through her first trimester, because we didn't want to tell everybody and they get excited, and we had to go through the hurt. But what was so amazing is how when we found out that Jermaine was a boy and we began to share, first thing my mom said to me, and what you hear in the background is probably one of the boys. Maybe
They
King
might have
Sire.
heard their names mentioned.
And so she said, son, I want you to remember everything you did and you thought you got away with. So like, you have a boy,
Yeah.
you're going to see it.
Oh,
And
good.
Mom,
I see it. Not just through Jermaine, but
Yeah.
all three of the boys.
Man. Get
And so
out of here.
it's like it's funny. What's so funny is that I grew up in a house with 3 boys. And so I watched all 3 of them act just like me and their uncles.
Yeah.
And so I can tell you who acts like who. It's like, yeah, your uncle, yep, that's who, that's me. So it's funny.
I mean, that going through one miscarriage is obviously bad enough, but we went through one ourselves. Going through 7.
Yeah.
How-
The
how did you
first
get-
one was the most difficult one because I carried it the longest. So it's like, you create a bond, but then when I realized what had happened, I was so upset. And then I got pregnant again, and then I just knew I was gonna have a baby, but then, and so after the second one, and I got pregnant, I just didn't get,
Too excited.
excited because, you have faith to a certain point, then reality kicks in. Now, I'm not saying don't have faith, but faith versus, reality.
That was actually, believe it or not, and most people say, well, yeah, we do believe. That was one of our make it or break it moments, not for as far as our marriage, but as far as our faith. It was one that we had to really learn, and often people say, well, you've had 7 miscarriages, and all these miscarriages occurred while we were married. And so one, as she was talking about the first miscarriage, I think we found out it was a girl. We already had a name for her, and Samari Dion Scott. We were so excited, and when she had it at her job. And so when she called me, I was in the warehouse, and all I can do was cry and drop to my knees, and it made me angry with God. It made me ask God, out of my faithfulness, out of everything that I was doing, out of all of my works, why me? And it's like, I look around and we would see so many people mistreat kids. It's like, all we desire is our own. And for so long going through and so often, here's the thing, we would get in the prayer line, allow the men and women of God to lay hands and pray over us, and we would often go seek at the altar and asking God to forgive us if there was something that we did that was holding us. But through this action, not only the fact that it showed us what it was to actually believe and how to trust God, because we say we trust God, but we trust God only when we feel everything is working in our favor. And so we had to learn to trust God even though it was not working in our favor. And I thank God for it, because not to say that it was a comfortable journey, but we can say it now that God has really gotten us to a place where we now learn to trust Him like we've never trusted Him.
Yes.
And most people say, well, how did you guys get through it? Much prayer. It was brokenness, and it was prayer. And it came to a place where we realized that our brokenness could not do anything for us. Yes, we had the memories. Yes, we went through the emotional pain. And at the end of the day, I still had to trust God for the word that was released when I didn't see it being released. And so it was a make or break moment.
Well, I'll tell you, just knowing a little bit, from having taught you before, I know you took care of your grandma, right? She lived with you, was it 10 years?
About 10 years.
Okay.
No, wait.
It was 5.
Sure.
No,
No.
2005 to 2010. That's 5.
Oh, it was 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years. But we were in the house 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Amen. Well, and I say that
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I say that to say because, you know, we know that number 7,
Yes.
you know,
Yes, yes.
of completion, you know, and through it all of that. I mean, I just thank God for your testimony. But then number 8,
Yes.
the new beginning.
Yes, yes,
You know,
yes.
the first son. And seeing how, you know, you took care of grandma, you know, and God had a reward for you already. What was we had talked about it before, but what was the difference in time from your grandma passing to you becoming pregnant with your first son?
It was, seemed to me like it was immediate.
Yeah.
Because she died in 2010, and then Jermaine was born in 2011.
Look at God.
Yeah.
Wow.
The next 8, yeah.
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 Now,
So that's awesome.
it was, I had a lot of mixed emotions because those that know me know, and they often say, "Oh, you're spoiled. You're just Rose's child." My grandmother raised me,
Yeah.
and so listen. Yes, I am Rose's baby, and so our relationship is so. We actually have the same birthday, November 14th, just 50 years apart, same birthday. So it's like, yeah, that's mine.
Right, that's
yeah,
what it is.
that's mine. And so it's like, one of my desires was I wanted her to be here to experience not the fact that she didn't already have 30 some odd grandkids, but I felt like God, she needed to be here to experience my grandchild. But it was a quite unusual experience. One, I say, we learned a lot while we were taking care of her. Even, I would say, not just spiritual maturity, but our maturity as a married couple and individual. We grew, not to say that we were immature as individuals, but we matured. We began to have a different perspective.
Yes.
And so, God's timing is not our timing.
Amen.
And it was not easy
Right.
taking care of her, but we enjoyed it. And I'm not saying that to say, well, listen, she was a burden. No, it was tough because it required sacrifice and you being alert on things that you just felt like, okay, cool. But the transition was different. It was awesome because now here it is. God has blessed us with our own.
Amen.
And we know that the boys know who she is.
That was, I know most people say, well, I don't believe this. We never showed our sons a picture of my grandmother. All they would see is the big picture, the big rose, and then we would tell them that her name was Rose. They never saw a picture of her. And when we moved here, my middle son, Jaden, I finally took out a picture and I said, Danielle, we're gonna hang this picture. Boom. When we hung the picture, Jaden said, I know her. I was like, no, you don't. He's like, I do. That's my teddy bear. I was like, you're a teddy bear? He's like, yeah, I see her when I sleep and she tell me everything is gonna be all right. And all I can do, like this came, and Jaden was like 3. All I can do was cry.
Oh my God.
All I can do is cry. And most people say, we don't believe in experiences like this. This is my 3-year-old son telling me that I believe it, because even if you look at it scripturally, when Saul went, yes, it was a familiar spirit that he was able to wake the spirit of the prophet. And so for that to occur, people say, well, no, he may have been a vision. However it was, whether it was a vision or a dream that God gave him, it was mind-blowing, because for him to say, that's my teddy bear. And then he said exactly one of the things that she said. I love you. How did he say it? more than a bushel and a peck. He doesn't know what a, like, wait,
Oh my
what is
goodness,
it?
a 3-year-old.
You don't know what a bushel and a peck is. And so my
I don't know what a
family,
bushel and a
my
peck.
family who's watching it knows, okay,
Right.
yeah, it's not something that me and my wife say,
Right.
but that was something that she always say. When you say, well, Grandma, I love you, she said, I love you more than a bushel and a peck.
Wow.
And that was her thing.
Yeah.
And for him to say that to us, I was like, wow. I said, Danielle, this is that yeah, he's not playing.
Right.
So
That's clearly God, because
Yeah.
when somebody, a child, sees someone who can recognize someone in a picture who they never actually met,
Right.
that's God. And whoever doesn't believe it, that's just their choice, but
Yeah.
they're denying something that's obvious.
Yes.
Well, look, this has been awesome, and we're going to continue this next time. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And we got some more for you. We know that you want to hear some more about the man and woman of God. We're sure that you enjoyed, like we enjoyed talking with them. Did you enjoy it, Evangelist? Amen.
Amen.
So thank you all so much for sitting down with us. And y'all gonna give us some more next week?
we'll give you some more.
Okay. So thank y'all, and God bless y'all. We see you next time.
Amen.